Okay, we're here working on the second half of America the Beautiful, and that is from measure 9. I think you're able now to see my screen share. I have fingerings up there from the work we did the other day. And here we are in the second half of the piece, starting let's see, what did I do to my color? We're starting here, pick up to measure 9. You're going to notice something pretty cool about this arrangement as we come through the second half of the piece. Let's continue working in 2-bar increments, so this much. To there. To there. To there, and then the ending. I think in that first phrase, I'm going to call that's the pickup to measure 9. Here's measure 9. And here's measure 11. And here's measure 13. And here is measure 15. In that first phrase, we have the biggest problem is moving from, I'm going to pause my screen share here for a second, show you my hands. Right there, that's going to be a quick move. There are 2 moves there in a row. This is starting on beat 3 with fingers 1 and 4, moving to count 4 with fingers 1 and 5, and then bringing the thumb in for the downbeat. So I'd like you to play those 3 notes. Let me share my screen again to show you exactly which 3 notes that I mean. And it is these 3 notes right here. We're starting here, and we're going to end here. I'm going to play those 3 notes. The right hand here is playing fingers 1 and 4. Starts with fingers 1 and 4. And here we go. Watch my hand do it a couple times. 3, 4, 1, and again, go. And 4, and 1, and again, go. 1, and again, go. That's the hardest part of this phrase. I would make sure that little transition from measure 9 to 10 is worked out before I try the entire phrase. Once you've got those 3 notes and their moves worked out, then the whole phrase will be pretty easy to do. Let's do it twice, the whole phrase. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and stop and 2 and again. 4 and 1 and 2 and shift and bring it in and 2 and stop. Yeah, so hopefully you can watch that a couple of times and try it with me, and then practice it several times on your own at your choice of tempo, making sure that you're moving fluently through that shift passage there. Then we have a region of relative stability. I didn't actually show you the motion here, but the next one is not nearly as big of a shift. We start in an F major 5-finger position. This is the pickup to measure 11. What are you seeing right here? Yeah, this is the pickup to measure 11, starting right here. 4 and 1 and 2 and now you have a couple of choices here. You could extend the thumb here and then shift the whole hand here. That's one option. Let's expand this up. Or you could 4 and 1 and 2 and here here you could shift over to fingers 4 and 2 if you wanted to on that. Let me show you both of those on the screen, on the keyboard. Here's the first one. Begin by extending my thumb and then move. Or you could do it this way. Moving on to count 3 with fingers 4 and 2. Either way is fine. Either way works. You're going to use the pedal to help connect the sound no matter where your shift is. So you'll need to decide that for yourself, which fingering you'd like. Stick with it. I would stick with it from now on, unless you have problems and can't work that phrase out. Then I'd consider changing to the other fingering. In the pick up to measure 13 phrase, this one is relatively stable. Not much motion there. I'm not going to drill that one with you. You can drill that one on your own. And then for the final phrase, I would probably pick up my hand and start this final phrase with a thumb on the F. Let me show you that again. Sorry, I knocked off my screen share. So you finish the phrase in measure 14 with fingers 2 and 1 over the D and the F here. And what I'm suggesting is pick up my hand and shift right here so that my thumb is now on the F. 1, 2, 4, 1, 1, 1. So that ending is just unison between the soprano and alto, and it won't be a terrible thing for you to drill. Let's go back and look at the left hand for this much music. Now here's where you're going to hear the cool thing. Our units are the same. Here is a phrase, here is a phrase, and here is a phrase. Pick up to measure 9. That's where we're headed. Sorry, that is not measure 9. This is measure 9. Right there. Left hand. There's the phrase. You can hear that and you can see it on the score. Not a lot of motion required there. You can watch my hand do it here as I pause the screen share for a moment, and you can see that. I want you, as we listen this time, listen particularly to the bass. Here's something familiar in the bass voice. It is the melody from the opening of the piece. So the bass becomes the melody, and we can see in the next phrase if that continues or not. Nearly identical to the second phrase of the piece in the soprano. That's what the melody normally would be. But the bass continues on up at that spot. Very neat little bit of counterpoint when we get there. It's hands together. It's very nice to play. You see my suggested fingering here is 5 and 1, 4 and 1, sliding off the B flat with your thumb, and then picking up your hand and shifting to an F major 5-finger position, and then picking up the hand and putting your thumb on the octave. Let's try that phrase 3 times. 1 and 2 and 3. 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and stop 2, and again, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3. Shift the thumb, B flat, and 2, and stop, and 2, and again. 4, and 1, and shift, and 3, and 4. Shift the thumb, B flat, 2, and stop. So there's the left hand. Now, if you're having some trouble, it's probably between beats 1 and 2. So I would probably do that a number of times to make sure I can get between beat 1 with fingers 1 and 4 and beat 2 with fingers 3 and 5, because that's the place we've decided to shift. There are other fingerings, but I would strongly suggest if you choose a different fingering, mark the fingerings out that are printed in the score here, and do that by simply a single strike like this. You can just mark them out like this, and that way you can still see them in case your choices don't work. You don't want to completely eradicate them. So then you can go back and erase those if you choose something else. But don't look at wrong fingerings. If you're performing this piece for a recording or for a committee or for a pep assembly when in your first year of teaching band, for the whole school to sing along with you, you don't want to be looking at wrong fingerings. And that brings up the second point. Later, you will pull this arrangement out when your principal says, hey, we're going to have a pep assembly this afternoon, need you to play America the Beautiful or Star Spangled Banner or whatever. You're going to want to know what fingerings you learned. You're not going to want to have to relearn them on the spot. So make good records for yourself. Pick up to, now we are in measure 13. Picking up to this measure. So watch my hand do it once. 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. That's a pretty stationary hand position. You simply slide in from the dominant 7th chord, C minor 5-finger position with an extension at the end. Thumb extends from the G to the B flat. Not a difficult one. Notice the 4th finger on the pickup to the last phrase. And here you have a place where you're going to have to roll 4 and 3 and 1 and 4 and 1. So that the low note comes before the beat and you land on the tenor on the beat with the soprano and alto. Together they would sound like this. 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. It's a little bit like crossing the bridge on a cello or a violin. You have to take your bow across, and you have to do those double stops. So I want to practice that. Pedal down here, and then you're fine. 4 and 1, 4 and 1, and 4 and 1, and 4 and 1. I'd give that a number of repetitions so that it flows easily. When you go together, and then you can play a little faster. At a singable tempo. Listen to this arrangement once, hands together, all the way through. Listen for that particular melody. When we get to the pick up to measure 9, you can hear that reiteration of the soprano melody from the beginning at the end. There at the beginning of measure 9, and in the bass voice. That's kind of neat. trying to sing along at my tempo there. I'm not sure what tempo I was playing at exactly. But that's it's not a really fast singable tempo. But it's going to feel fast to you. So if you have to prepare this piece, you want to make sure that you've done a hand separate work before beginning to put the hands together, phrase at a time, and working those repetitions at that point, hands together. You want to make sure each hand knows its way around, making sure that you know the moves um, in each hand. We'll talk about the hands together version at a later point, but for now, work on those hands separate motions.